Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode of the Response on Play podcast. Hope you guys are having a good day today, and especially you. You listening right now, whatever you're doing with your hair, it's great. Keep it up. But I'm Andrew, and of course I'm joined by
Jake, I mean, if you like your hair that way, that's fine. I just, you know,
I don't.
And I'm James. My hair's great, and I'm the king of going 3-3.
Uh, your hair's fine. I don't know if I'd say great. It's fine.
I would.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're proud of your hair. But of course, we are joined by a special guest. If you would like to introduce yourself.
I'm Zeke, and I'm secretly a bear in a trench coat.
We love bears in trench coats. Can't get enough of them. In fact, I actually haven't seen a single one. But those who are longtime watchers and listeners of our channel, you'll recognize Zeke's voice since he DM'd our one shot that we did last year, leading up to the release of the Critical Role set. And he's new to Universus. Kind of giving want to pick his brain a little bit for like new player experience and whatnot. But Zeke, what got you into Universus? What got you kind of like looking in to actually playing the game?
So, there are two things. Number one is I have a history in card games, and some of my close friends decided to start a podcast about a specific card game. So I've
Wait,
always
is that us?
maybe, I've always wanted to get back to competitive gaming as well. I did play some other games when I was younger, and now I'm here and ready to see a more competitive play style of game.
Okay.
What
And
did
you said
you-
you have. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, you got it.
You said you had experience in other card games. What other card games have you played?
Well, the first card game I ever played was poker with my grandmother. And then from there, I was taught how to play Pokemon when Pokemon very first came out in the US as cards. I played through the Dark set, which is the fourth of the original sets, and I played in my local scenes there. I learned pretty quickly near the end that there's a big difference in competition in a small town local scene versus going to like an actual tournament. And while I wanted to pursue that, I did not have the opportunity as a kid. I then, as a teen, got into Magic the Gathering and found a big love of strategic card gaming. Anything that had real mindset needed to compete well and form good decks. Then as you guys got into UVS, I kind of stayed on the sidelines, watching for some cards, looking for a character, because I understood the format of characters, foundations, and attacks. Looking for a character that grabbed me. Someone that I felt I would enjoy playing enough to warrant trying to be competitive. And with the Fairy Tale set coming out in the fall, I needed to get ready for that. I'm a huge fan of the Fairy Tale anime. I haven't read the manga, which I've heard that's where the artwork is coming from, is manga panels. And I'm excited to see those. I'm also excited to see which characters get used. I have a very few favorites that I would geek out pretty hard over if I got to play them, no matter what their words said. And I searched for someone that I could learn now, and I found Cha Hae-In, a reprint of Levi Ackerman, and I liked that enough to at least give an event a try.
Right on.
What was it like learning the game? Because one of the big things that's talked about within the scene is it's very hard to onboard new players because the game is so complicated. So how was that for you? Did you find it daunting to play, or was it something you kind of picked up pretty quickly?
There's a lot of words. I will say that. There are a lot of words. I personally did not have a huge struggle. so I can't commiserate with any of the new people who are having trouble figuring things out. I understand kind of how gaming mechanics work. I've been playing games in any form since I was probably 4 years old. And I've moved on through countless numbers of board games. I have an extensive collection of those, and into card games as well, committing way much more money than I ever wanted to them. Getting some of it back, but not as much as I put in. And so I just if there if you approach it logically, the game is very easy to understand. Every word is explained. Um, there are cards that don't have those explanations. A lot of those are now older sets, and the newer sets are much better of having printed text on the card explaining what each keyword means. So I think there's a bit of people aren't reading enough, and also a bit of there's so much to read you don't know what's important.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I think that's kind of a big difference too, is the fact that like you have previous card game experience. That probably
Yes,
helps a little bit.
most
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, I definitely think those who have played previous games, like previous card games before jumping into universes, definitely have a bit more edge compared to someone who's never touched a card game before and they just decided to jump head first into universes. Which, I mean, sweet. That's awesome that you decided to choose universes as your first card game, but that has to be a pretty like big struggle for some. And hearing your take about that is actually very interesting to me because a lot of new players, when they talk about getting into this game, it was very hard for them, and not many of them like stuck with it because, uh, well, the game is complicated. Like there's some things that's a little complex with universes, um, but I did enjoy hearing like your side, like your experience with just getting into the game.
Mhm. And I can commiserate with that. I completely understand people's mindset of that, but it's the same experience as going from something like Monopoly, a board game almost I think everyone in the United States has played at some point in their lives, and upgrading that to a game like Settlers of Catan. There is a huge complexity difference between those two games in terms of being able to teach people. There's a reason Monopoly says like ages 6 and up, and Catan says ages 15 and up. So I understand this. If I've
But you're
only
saying that I
ever
can't play Settlers of Catan.
No, I think you could. I think you're 15.
Also, is there boardwalk in Catan? Like, can I take boardwalk from somebody in Catan?
No, but you can trade wood for sheep.
You better be careful, or I will build the longest road.
Yeah, you
Okay,
can't
well,
take
can I?
boardwalk. You can take longest road though.
Okay, well, can I be a car in Catan? Like,
No,
it's like, is that the piece that everyone fights over in Catan?
no.
Is that what's the piece equivalent in Catan that people fight over? Is it like a wagon or?
It would probably be brick.
Okay, I was gonna say I've never played Catan, so I don't know.
Yeah. Again, it's completely different kind of game. It's like saying that I've played Go Fish my whole life. I can probably be pretty good at Universes. They're not the same. Yes, they use
They're
cards.
close.
They're not the same.
They're not close.
I think they are.
I mean, I think Solitaire is more appropriate.
Probably.
There are some decks that just play with themselves. So yeah, that makes sense.
And then there's Yu-Gi-Oh, which is literally just that. But anyway,
Mm.
so with
True.
all of these games, game knowledge, card knowledge, all this stuff, giving you an edge in learning universes,
Mhm.
then going into a competitive setting,
Right.
did you feel about the same as like it was just nothing, it wasn't too daunting or anything, it was just kind of another game, or did you feel like there was a different kind of, I guess, feeling in the air?
So for the setup and the preparation for it, it was not so much about the competition. For me personally, I decided pretty early on that my goals would be a lot less lofty for this. And that's a point I would like to make to any new player out there. Do set yourself goals for your first event. And I'll talk about mine so that you understand what I mean by that. I had two major goals for this event. It wasn't to win, it wasn't to try to top cut. Those are lofty goals. Those are high expectations for the first time you step onto a competitive floor for a game you've never competed in before. You want to set something that you can actually do. I set two, and one was to make sure I had fun playing, and that was the most important one.
It's very important.
The second one was to try to win a single game, not a round, a game. I wanted to take a victory off of somebody, make them go to 3 out of, a best of 3 matches. I would be fine losing as long as I could get that one thing that day. And that is a more appropriate, I think, objective goal because you can get that. And setting that low goal means anything past that is icing on the cake.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of relate to that even as, I guess you could say I'm a veteran player for the game. It's like, even as a veteran player, I still have those moments of, well, with this deck, I just want to have fun. And if I get a game, then awesome. Like, I'm already like on cloud 9. This deck is great. It's the best deck I've ever played. You can't take this away from me, except that you can, because then I lose the whole match and then reality sets in. But I completely get and understand what you mean.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think you winning a game would probably be the best deck you've ever built. So.
Dang.
All right. Freaking dead on the set. God.
James, I thought we were loading these guns with stage bullets.
Real bullets, bro.
Yeah, sorry, hand slipped.
Hand slipped. Whoops. Bang.
It's
Slipped
really
multiple
crazy.
times. But no, I completely get what you mean by that, Zeke. Of just, especially just as a new player, just really setting expectations for how it's going to go, not wanting to get your hopes up, but also still set some realistic goals for yourself, just stepping into your first competitive event.
Yeah, of course. And that goes really for anything and like setting appropriate goals for yourself. Anytime you try something new, don't expect to go pro the next day. Because you're just going to make yourself sad when you don't. So, reasonable goals means great achievement in your heart, and that is a boon for anyone's mindset.
All right, time to check this off of the list. I can't go pro with this game, so I think therefore I may need to take my leave of the podcast. So I'm done for in this town. Can't go pro.
What's crazy is you were never started for in this town, so.
All right, sweet. Shooting a dead body. It's pretty great. So you mentioned before, unless I'm insane, that the character that you decided to play, that you landed on, that really grabbed you, was Cha Hae-In, which is the Levi Ackerman one reprint character for the solo leveling experience bundle. So like, what is it about the character, or any of or if you're familiar with any of the symbols, like what really grabbed your attention to that character?
So two things grabbed my attention, and literally it's the two different words on her card. Coming from Magic and playing a lot of Commander, I understand the value of words on a card. And while I didn't necessarily need to play a top tier deck, I wanted to play a deck that I at least found interesting and knew I could play no matter how I felt the day of. This meant that Cha's passive ability of your charge and weapon attacks get +1 speed, +1 damage, are incredibly useful. And then her ability to pick up a weapon card from the field, allowing her to pick up a block, chain an extra attack, in a string. Both fantastic opportunities for tricky little plays that could get your opponent in the heat of battle. So that's how I landed on Cha specifically over someone more complicated, like what I saw a lot of at the game at the tournament was Titan of Terror.
A classic character, which I'm sure we'll get into more of that later. But yeah, the sort of intricacy with Cha is the picking up an attack that's already been played, and then being able to either sling it back down right like immediately, or just hold it for block or hold it for next turn, kind of sculpt your hand a little bit. Because I can definitely say, since some of us helped you practice for this event, it definitely slipped to my mind a couple times. I was like, oh yeah, he can just pick up that cool attack that he just played and just hit me with it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's some even more tricks. When we start talking about the tournament itself, I'll go over one that I managed to pull off. But as far as it goes, I wanted someone else that was simple. A lot of cards can have a lot of text on them, and the way my brain works in the heat of the moment, I lose the ability to focus on all those words and options. So I need as few buttons as I can so that I can remember to click all of them.
Makes sense. And I mean, like you highlighted, the static on Cha of just 1/1 to your charging weapons. I mean, that's a button you don't have to push. That's always available. So you don't have to worry about pressing it. It's already going to be applied. So that's already making your life easier.
Mhm. And then building the attack lineup was pretty simple. Choosing high value attacks that could use just a little more juice on them. Ran some great kill cards in there of Walk the Dog and Bladed Uppercut, both of which can have powerful 3. Bladed Uppercut only on condition though. But still, like that ability to be a little faster coming out makes it that much harder for them to block, and I can focus on boosting the damage so that those hits land when my speed is just high enough that they can't block it.
Yeah. And you do have like a few like really cool foundations, which again, like you said, I'm sure you'll get to get to those whenever we start talking about the event itself. But I wanted to just highlight at least one card from that list, which I think is really a no brainer when you think about it, because it was Cha is just Levi, so I think Levi's Relentless Spirit is definitely like an easy like card that is just auto included in a list like this, because commit it for the cost to play the attack or any sort of like commit costs. And then you get to ready it as soon as your attack deals damage to a character, and then you get to use it for more attacks and such.
Yeah, it was a must-have, especially when I decided to play Whirling Slash, which allows you to commit foundations to give it speed and your next attack speed, as well as draw cards and potentially lower the difficulty of an air attack, which is why I ultimately decided to build her on air.
I mean, air's a sick symbol. I get it. Air is my favorite symbol. I love the air symbol. So, I mean, her other symbol, death, is also a very good symbol. Like, Cha has 2 really good symbols, so you can't go wrong with either of them. But speaking of death, you also have, I know this was sort of like a late addition to your list, but Chomp. How effective was Chomp for you? Like, how did you end up liking it? Don't have to really talk about the matches or anything like that, but how did you feel about having Chomp like in the deck whenever you got to play it? How good did it feel?
Well, I can tell you a little bit of the matches. I didn't get to use its main words, the removal of a foundation in my opponent's stage. But as far as a consistent block card that I love to keep because of the Breaker 2, Breaker became a huge point for allowing me to even have a chance to win with this deck.
Okay, so it was definitely more of a defensive piece than just board control.
Exactly.
Okay, I mean that makes sense. It's a 2 mid block, so it's very good. Like it's an average block, but Breaker 2 makes it good defense. Paired with timely counterattack that you also have on the list, that is Breaker 3.
Yeah, and I just didn't really get the opportunity. We'll go into more of that why later, but I just didn't have the chance to really use it to its fullest potential. But I would still say it's a must-have if you're going to build Cha. At least as a 2 of. It gives you so much utility in the deck that you wouldn't have otherwise. It's one of the few really good sources for what it gives.
Okay, pretty interesting. Jake, James, either of you got any interesting points about Zeke's list that really reached out to you?
Not really. I mean, I'm interested to see. So, like, what is one piece in your deck that you felt like every single time you saw it, you went, "Yes, that's what I need."
Mondo Gecko.
On that
There's never
Gecko,
a
yeah.
time that Mondo Gecko is not a good one. And if it was in my hand, I even several times made the decision to actively put it on the board instead of starting to play an attack or two. Guaranteeing it to come out was just such a boon. Its ability to give my attack speed and thus make them bigger pressure, and then also on the opponent's turn, having interactivity to just reduce their speed so that I can potentially block attacks.
Yeah, Mono Gecko is a very sick card. I'm pretty familiar with it since I've played it in my Vex 2 list. Vex 2 is a sick character. Should definitely try to check that character out. But, meme aside, Mono Gecko is a very cool card.
And I'd even have an answer for if you wanted to know what the number 2 is. It's Soaring in the Skies. Soaring in the Skies on air allows you to make all of your air attacks have +1 speed on each enhanced step. So running a 4 of that, and multiple times I got to see 3 on the field. So it's good.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those cards that if you have multiple in the stage, it becomes very potent. Paired with Whirling Ninjutsu, which is kind of in the same vein of just giving +1 damage to your attack if it has greater speed than it's printed, which in Cha it's going to, because the attack will immediately come in with 1/1. So immediately you're already going to hit that threshold for Whirling Ninjutsu. So it's like you're giving your attacks 1 speed, 2 damage.
Exactly.
What was the worst card in the deck? What are you not bringing next time?
There is a couple. Making Preparations, I only ran as a 2 of. I only used its responsibility once. It was essentially just a foundation in the deck. And the other one would be No Restraint. Discarding a momentum for my weapon gets +3 speed never came up, simply because I would rather use the momentum for powerful, or I didn't have the momentum to spend.
Makes
That is
sense.
fair. Yeah, No Restraint, I feel like, has always been that sort of awkward card of, yeah, this ability is good, but if I don't have a momentum, it's just a blank foundation. But Making Preparations not really being your favorite is kind of surprising to me, just because I think the card is pretty good if you can give consistent speed, which I feel like Cha can do.
Especially with Soaring in the Skies, yeah. And it wasn't that it was bad. It was that I didn't see it enough. If I was
Okay.
going to run Making Preparations, it would not be as a 2 of. It would instead be drop No Restraint and run 4 Making Preparations so that I actually could get one on the field consistently.
That makes sense. And again, it kind of just leads into like with Soaring in the Skies and Whirling Ninjutsu of, yeah, if you have multiple of these on board, like this is very potent. Which, I mean, you have to commit Making Preparations, so you're losing a resource to if you want to kind of continue your attack string. But
Right.
the damage can be worth it if you're just going to kill your opponent.
Yeah, 100%. But there's also a design philosophy that I went with this deck of if they're dead, they can't kill me. So if I was going to continue using Cha, which I might honestly look at again, I have a huge hunch that when one of the characters gets printed with Fairy Tail, they'll come out with a lot of air weapons. So I think air weapons Cha will get stronger with Fairy Tail's release. So Cha will be in my peripheral for now. But there was also a lack of interaction with my opponent. So I would redesign this deck just so that I could do more on their turn. And losing things like making preparations and no restraint for a 4 of that would give me more consistent speed hate sounds a lot better after what I saw at this tournament.
I mean, that makes sense because being able to disrupt your opponent is very important in our game. I mean, it's very important in any card game, but I feel like it's just as important in Universes because if you just leave your opponent unchecked, then they kind of get to walk away with the game, so to speak. But a little unrelated to that, I'm very curious. Who is a character in Fairy Tale that you're looking forward to? This is just a me thing. Like, I'm very curious, even though I know nothing about Fairy Tale. But
So it depends. As a big nerd who knows a lot about Fairy Tale, I would honestly say there are two. One now, simply because I believe she is going to give me a lot of things for Cha. And then one because he's my favorite character of the show. But I don't think my favorite character of the show is going to get a card in this set. If Fairy Tale has multiple sets, he'll show up in the later sets. Simply because he's not a very prominent character in the beginning of the series. So those two characters are Urza, being the female sword fighter that will most likely bring air weapons along with her, because in the beginning of the series she's known as Lady Tatiana, the Fairy of Blades, and she flies around with sword power. So I think she's going to have air weapons. And then my favorite actually character, which I don't think will show up until at least second set, is Gildarts. He is a destruction mage with the ability of division magic, which is all about like literally cubing things up and turning them into a pile of rubble, or even has spells to split people in half into like minor versions of themselves instead of one full powered. I think in this game he is also going to be incredibly cool in terms of the words. If they do any amount of flavor, which I saw some fantastic flavor in the Critical Role, I don't think they can make him weak enough, no matter what they print, without just saying he has no words on his card. Because if they try to give him anything like his abilities in the series, he will be overpowered because he is supposed to be.
Interesting. Yeah, I was just more of curious because I know Fairy Tale was kind of the IP that made you really lock in and was like, maybe I should actually jump into playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of wanted to pick your brain a little bit, just kind of really feel your excitement for this IP that's coming to the game.
Yeah, I guess there is one more point of excitement, and that's what it's going to do for the fire symbol. I have a huge passion for the fire symbol. The first character I locked onto in this game ever was Endeavor 2, the mill one, I think.
Endeavor 3.
Endeavor 3, yeah. So Endeavor 3, and I played a lot of that online with most of the people here in the podcast. Just as I'm perfectly capable of letting you test a potentially terrible deck with a deck that actually worked okay. But since then, the fire symbol has kind of been forgotten for the most part. But Natsu, being one of the main characters of the series Fairy Tale, being a fire mage, means there's no way fire isn't going to get at least some amount of love. And since he is one of the main characters, should be some good love.
For sure. I mean, there's also, we have had some cards on the fire symbol. Attack Titan Saymaker is a very like prime example of fire getting some love. But yeah, I definitely don't think fire has enough of it.
Yeah, not as much as like chaos.
Yeah, I think
No,
I think fire has just like been slated as like the best support symbol. It's like the best symbol you want as like the second symbol on your character.
Yeah, because especially with Attune being introduced, I definitely agree. Because there's just all these there's these good cards like Attack Titan Saymaker that you can splash in the list just because you can, because it's not your main symbol, but your character also has fire. So it's like, yeah, I just get this 4 mid 5 stun 2 card.
And learning about Attuned is something I had to do when I came back. I knew a little bit of it, but like learning what it really meant and what it allowed me to do became a huge necessity for building a competitive deck.
Yeah, because looking at your list here, I believe Chomp is your only death attuned card in the list.
Correct.
Yeah,
And that is
so
simply because my attack ended up being all air weapons, so that soaring in the sky hit every card I could play.
yeah, which makes sense. Like you don't want this card that you want multiples of just be a dead card. You don't want it to be another no restraint, right? Like
Yeah,
you
exactly.
want to hit this button. So that all makes sense. But with all of that, you got your deck, you got your character, kind of walked us through how you felt about the deck, what it does, and everything. It's the event itself in Michigan. And this was your first competitive event, especially for Universus. Like it's definitely your first Universus like competitive-ish event.
Yes. First
Uh,
official Universus event in any capacity as well.
Yeah, this was the Trading Post Local Championship, which was almost like a mini regional. There was like 52 people there, I think.
52 showed up, 54 were registered.
Yeah,
which is
that's
crazy.
crazy.
It is
I
crazy.
have been to regionals that only had like 5 more people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people have kind of can share that sentiment for sure. But
Wait, it had how many people?
52 showed up. 54 were
Nice.
registered, but only 52 showed up to play.
That's pretty cool.
That is very cool. Which gives us some high hope for the future LCs, of course. But yeah, just kind
And
of well, sorry.
I'm sorry. Thanks to the venue that he chose, I even personally explained what game we were playing to 3 different groups in detail, not just a passing by. They were like, "Hey, are you guys?" Like one guy came up and was like, "Hey, are you playing Magic in there?" And I said, "Kind of. It's a different game, but it's still a competitive card game." And he proceeded to ask me questions for a solid 15 minutes. I explained everything that I had learned from the game to him, like gave him the same kind of friendliness everyone inside had given me, and tried to appeal to him. But he was a gentleman a bit older than me, and I'm no spring chicken. And he he didn't understand the concept of anime, so that was a step to explain as well.
That's funny.
That is fair. Yeah.
That's funny. I like that.
But yeah, if you just kind of want to walk us through, like, how was your experience for this event?
So the experience for the event started with the deck building. The deck building myself went okay. I was lucky enough to have friends who are very into the game help critique me and help me get the deck to a point that I felt comfortable competing with. Um, I would say getting that knowledge, finding forums online if you can, talking to people in the community, getting to your local shops that play, and speaking to people that have experience will help you get to the point that you feel comfortable going with a deck. Then showing up, registration went great. The venue was easy to find, and the instructions given to get there were fantastic. We managed to get checked in perfectly on time and get registered in a breeze. Everything was well maintained and run by the guys that were doing it. And all the way up to the first game, I met nothing but friendly people. I had a fantastic time getting to meet a number of people from who were part of the team the event was run by, and then as well as some former world champions were there, and I got to not only just talk to them but even play around against one of them. So
That's
moving
awesome.
into the first round, all the instructions were explained extremely clearly. Don't know if that's the same for every event that I'm going to go to. But the guy that was there and giving out all of the cues was amazing. He was very easy to understand and projected well, so I heard him even all the way in the back. It was great to actually sit down for my first time in 23 years. So that was a fantastic, competitive moment of that heart race again of, oh, I'm here to try to like really push myself. And that was a good feeling again. So if anyone remembers their youth of playing, in a little league baseball team or trying to sell the most Girl Scout cookies, whatever you chose to do as a kid that was your competitive outlet, finding that again, it brings back a lot of good memories.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know we'll get into a little bit about your rounds. We won't go in crazy detail unless there's something specific you want to point out. But I know at the beginning of the event, you were like, because I was there as well, you're like, yeah, I'm really just here. I want to see if I enjoy competing again. And then after the first round, you came up to me and you were like, James, I really like competing.
It was very much that moment of like, I went in hesitant, nervous that I wasn't going to like it again, and worried that I wouldn't get to continue simply because my mind wouldn't allow it. And then after that first round, and I felt that rush, I was just like, oh, I like this. Let's do more of this.
Yeah, because this is like kind of a prep. You're planning to go to Chicago as well, right?
Correct. I've already registered for the regional and have my accommodations already arranged as well. I'm excited to go. I'm checking on the list already that I plan to take, and I hope to have something solid prepped out before the weekend arrives.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about your rounds then. Was there anything, how did they go? Did you get your goal? Did you get your win? And was there anything specific in those rounds you kind of wanted to highlight about the decks or about your opponents or anything like that?
Yeah. So the first opponent I faced was fantastic. Very friendly guy, very open to explaining things to me once I, mentioned this is my first event for Universus. Very happy to take the time to explain all of his cards and what they did, as well as just let me physically read them myself. So all of that interactivity with the player was fantastic. I did lose my first 2 rounds. Both of these were from decks that had a lot more interactivity than I had and a lot more stage presence than I had, and the ability to manipulate their stage presence. So I lost to both of those pretty handily, simply because I couldn't do enough to get through their blocks. They just had enough to keep gassing it out. Third match, I won on a draw, on a forfeit. The gentleman didn't want to play that round since he didn't know who I was, and just decided he'd rather not play at all. So I took that victory, 1 and 2, rolling into the 4th round, which was against Jacob Johnson, the world champion himself, playing his card.
Yeah, that guy's got he's got his face on cardboard.
Mm-hmm. And he chose to play himself.
Yeah, I believe that one, if I remember right, was his national champion win, from what I remember.
Nice.
Let me double check here. Yeah, 2019 UK national champion is where he won that card from.
Still, it was amazing to play against him. I got my first win in the 2nd match, and surprised him with it. So much so that I got to play against the dreaded, he just built into deadlock, Jacob Johnson.
So you did take a game off him?
Deadlock move.
Yeah, I took the 2nd game off of him. Legitimately played well, and that 2nd win, which I do want to talk about, is specifically because Cha is not only able to pick up cards you've played previously, she is able to pick up the attack you played that round and stop all interaction from that attack, thus removing all of the penalties he wasted tapping and, committing foundations, flipping foundations for. And then I just put it back down and used the rest of my momentum to hit the power hard enough to kill him.
Nice.
Nice. That is, honestly, Like not even just like gassing up. That's kind of like a big brain play. It's like aborting your own attack to put them at a disadvantage is not brand new player work. That's awesome.
No, I
I had
agreed.
to even clarify that I could do that. I like when I had that thought of this is what I could do to try to still get the win this turn. I realized that I didn't know if that was possible, so I was hesitant to ask, but I asked him directly, and the look on his face was priceless of the realization of you can do that. You realized you can do that, and now I know I lost.
That's
Um,
awesome.
That
so
is a good
like
hit.
all that big brain moment was great, and just having the opportunity to get those was fantastic. I still lost to him in the third match, but that's to be expected. He's a better player than me at this game. I did not expect to win that round, and if I had managed, I would have probably peed my pants. I would have made it to the bathroom. I would not have gotten the pants off before the pee started.
All right, fair enough.
So
So excited.
yeah, I would have been so excited that I just couldn't hold it, and
Or hide it.
I almost was that excited when I managed to win round 5.
Oh,
So I managed to 2-0 him in round 5. Just strung out perfectly and used Cha exactly as how most people would think. I would play an attack like walk the dog, play a second attack, pick up the walk the dog, and play walk the dog again next turn, like the next attack. So it was just overwhelming force kind of victory each time. And I managed to string out fast enough on turn 3 consistently that he couldn't do anything to stop me.
nice. Do you remember who the character they were playing?
He was actually playing a Titan of Terror. I just
Oh.
managed to beat him.
Nice. Smoked
Very
the boogeyman,
nice.
huh?
Yeah, I did prove he is not infallible.
Yes, you
but
Todd players in Chicago better look out. You could see
He's
Cha
coming
Hae-In.
for you.
yeah, I had several people there who were excited to see Cha. Plenty of people who asked me why am I playing Cha and not a better character. Got to explain to them my mindset on that.
You
And- but-
two sides of the spectrum. It's like, yo, you're playing Cha, and you have the other people that's like, why the fuck are you playing Cha?
Yeah, even when the head judge saw that I had the Cha mat and the Cha character, she literally screamed out, "I love Cha!" in the event, and so I had to
Judge
deal with
buff.
that.
Yeah, I know.
Judge buff.
I know. Brett from Universus also was like, there was a Cha at this event. Excitedly.
Oh yeah, yeah, because he's a big solo leveling fan, I
Oh, yeah.
believe.
Oh yeah, not like he hand made / 3D printed solo
his
leveling.
daggers.
Yeah, his dagger for the Albuquerque or anything.
Nah, not at all. Wink.
And that leads me into my final round, which I chose to concede. I had an hour and 45-minute drive to get back home, and we were already running behind schedule. The last round hadn't started, and we were clocked to end at 8, and it was 8. So I decided it would be better to just go ahead and head home instead of wait until 9:30. They did have some door prizes for anyone who stayed around, some raffles and giveaways. But I chose to instead get home not at midnight.
That
Makes
makes
sense.
total sense.
Yeah, and so my opponent was actually even very appreciative of that surrender that late. He was hoping to be able to get out of there fast, which I learned from James that his deck would have probably killed me in 20 minutes anyway. So
Yeah, he was like,
Well,
he's
what
like, yeah, I
deck
don't
was
know
it?
if we want to play, if I want to play it out. And I was like, I promise you, because I had just beaten him. I was like, I promise you, you guys are going to play a 15-minute round. You will play if you go to 3 games, it will be 15 minutes total. He was playing regular
wow.
Godzilla. It was like,
Oh, King of the Monsters?
correct. You guys are just going to explode one another one way or like whatever's going to happen.
Yeah.
Someone's exploding. This match will last
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Someone will blow up.
I'm either taking down the boss monster or getting laser beamed as a little white woman. So
Oh,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
It was a great experience, even to the end. Everyone was in a good mood all through it. The only complaint I saw was for those of us who chose the catering that was provided by the event, that they ran out of food with the first trays before like a third of the people got to it.
Oh wow.
So that kind of sucked, but that was just the first round of trays. Another was coming out in an hour when they had prepped those trays again. So it just happened to be that by the time it ran out, which took like 30 minutes for it to run out, that they had to wait another 30 minutes before more came, which put us in a round, which meant that they had to wait until that round was over.
Unfortunate, especially just playing that many rounds, like hour-long rounds, mind you, and just not really being able to get some food, especially if you paid extra for this option, like feels kind of bad.
Yeah, no, it definitely was for the people who missed that first round. I didn't. I got lucky. Managed to get in the line early enough that I got all the options still available to me, but they were getting close. Those
Oh,
chicken
boy.
quesadillas, there were only 4 left when I got to the tray, so
Oh wow. Were they good?
Oh yeah, no, they were very delicious.
Big fan of quesadillas. I sure am.
This
Sure
episode's
am.
sponsored by quesadillas. Get one now at your local quesadilla mart.
Quesadilla.
I'm personally sponsored by Lactaid. So I want all my homies out there that are lactose intolerant know that as an ally to you, I feel your pain.
Interesting.
Oh boy. No, that's awesome to just hear this experience from just a newer player. I'm really glad you had a good time.
Yeah, I am too. If I had a bad time, I probably wouldn't have come on the show.
Yeah, I
You
guess
know, that's fair.
question for you would be, did it make you more excited for Chicago?
Even more excited, yes. I am so stoked.
Going
go
to
to
Chicago.
Mhm.
Are
For the
you
regional.
Are you going to stick with Cha?
No. I have
No?
ultimately decided I think Cha is not as effective as she could be currently. And so I've turned to someone who has similar text on their card in Anguirus.
I was going to say Levi
Levi
Ackerman won.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. A grand
Yeah.
switch.
Yeah, grand switch. Instead of playing a hot anime woman,
said-
is an anime man.
He said he wanted more interaction. Now he gets Survey Corps of Parity or whatever that card's called. He
Hope
gets
of
to block
parody.
a million. Yeah, he gets to block a million times. Perfect
And a check
switch.
6.
Now, you said Anguirus, though?
Yeah, Anguirus. From
Okay.
the newest Godzilla set.
That's
I
pretty
mean,
cool.
that's a solid pick.
Mm-hmm.
Just because
Gives
it's
me a little to do
similar
with
stat
power
manipulation,
tokens.
or
Yeah, it gives me a little to do with power tokens, which there are plenty of cards that manipulate based on those. And then it also gives me a little bit more boost in terms of the damage output from the card. And then looking at the attack lineups that are available that he triggers on, oh mama, there's some good cards there.
This bear in a trench coat is excited,
Yeah, getting feral. It's almost wintertime.
which is crazy because it's April.
Yeah, well, as a bear, I have to think about hibernation now because if I put it off, it's gonna be a bad winter.
That's fair. Now, I'm glad you had a good time at this LC, but you also were not the only one there. Unfortunately, you were joined by James.
yeah, sorry about that.
Oh!
You good?
Yeah, anytime James is mentioned, my tummy gets all rumbly.
You probably should take some Tums.
See a doctor about that.
Are you sure it's not butterflies?
It's not butterflies, trust.
Trust me, bro.
Press X to doubt.
But James, how was your experience as a veteran player?
It was the same as all my other ones. I got my ass kicked.
Hell yeah, up top.
Yeah, it was. No, it was great. I had a really good time. It was really awesome to be able to see everybody. I got to go a little bit early and do a little bit of content. That was very nice. But as far as the actual event goes, I did just play Titan of Terror. I, as usual, did not practice enough and was feeling pretty fine about the deck. There were a few things that I didn't have amazing answers to, like the new Ghidorah. My only real answer was just like Guardian of Angel of Chinatown and make something, massive. But if I didn't find it, that matchup became a lot harder. I tried to put an okay amount of like actual like speed hate in the deck. I still couldn't block anything. It was rough. I had a lot of trouble blocking more than like one per turn, and so I ended up taking a lot more damage than I would have liked.
Yeah. New Ghidorah is actually pretty crazy. I've been seeing some gameplay with the new Ghidorah, and honestly, seeing him in action is pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, the problem wasn't specifically with Ghidorah. It was just everybody. Like everyone's attacks were faster than the amount of speed hate that I brought could handle. Whether that means I just didn't have enough that I could see it, or they had enough speed pump to get over my speed hate. It was very difficult to be as defensive as I needed to be when I didn't find the early kills. That is probably just a deck building issue, which I may take a look at. I don't know if I want to continue playing the character. I think they are interesting enough, and obviously they are very good. It doesn't tickle my brain the same way I would want a deck to. So for that reason, I may not bring it to Chicago. I'm still kind of on the fence. I'm thinking possibly bringing Batra because I think that character is very, very cool.
Petra is very cool.
But overall, I did end up going 3-3. I finished I think it was 27th place. So very much just in the middle. I lost to two Ghidorahs and a Bridget, Rampage Bridget.
Oh wow!
Who
that
just
tracks.
aggroed the hell out of me. Killed me on turn 3 in the first game. I got game 2. Game 3, they killed me on turn 2 by playing 6 attacks. It was kind of crazy.
Bridget's pretty sick.
Killed me without Rampage on turn 2. So
without Rampage.
Without Rampage. Yeah.
That's actually insane.
It was insane. On 3 foundations, by the way. So
wow. What?
Yeah,
what all attacks? Do you remember what the line was like? Like what attacks?
It was. Oh, I'm trying to remember exactly how. It was basically like, because she gets to clear progressive, so it was like Earthbreaker, I believe was what it was. So he stunned me down, and I blocked the first one. And then because they get to give +2 speed, and they stunned me, I was not able to block anymore. So then the second one hit, they put the first one to momentum, and then played the next one, and that one hit, and they put that one in momentum, and then they played another attack and flipped the first one, and then the last attack was like the acid screen or whatever it was that doesn't count towards progressive for face downs. So then they got to play that one really cheap.
Yeah, growing grasp.
Nope, the Ashido one.
Acid screen.
Yeah, and they played that and it didn't count towards progressive, and they perfect checked it, and it was like because they stunned me and then got to give speed on everything, and then clear their progressive. It was just like they got to play everything very cheaply, and they checked very well. There's really, I don't really think there was really much I could do about that one with build 4, block the first one, and then everything else is just too fast. So wasn't too mad about that. And then and then the Ghidorahs, like I said, I just had a hard matchup into them if I didn't find the specific pieces I need to kind of turn off the head counter shenanigans. Then I won against a Jacob Johnson, the character, not the person.
Ooh.
A Godzilla, King of the Monsters. King of the Monsters.
Nice.
And what was the last one? I'm trying to remember. It was Hedorah. The squidopus.
Squidopus. I don't like that name. I don't like that actually.
Hedorah, by the way, bullshit. I blocked every single attack, and they still got me down to like 2 health. Character's bullshit.
The character's cool.
Yeah, I was like, so I won 2-0, and then we played a friendly, and actually blocked every single attack, and they killed me. And I was like, huh, this feels bad.
Yeah,
But
Hidora's sick.
yeah, the character's interesting, for sure. But
Yeah. Also, I did. So you mentioned that you played against and won against Jacob Johnson, the character. That is a character I think is very cool,
oh
and
yeah,
I'm very sad that rotation happened because it didn't do any favors for JJ, but even with that, there's still a couple of cool actions and cool pieces that JJ gets access to still, and that is a character I've looked at multiple times. Just like, man, I just want to play this character.
yeah. No, I've definitely considered it. After seeing it get played. Obviously, protector of life, and that character is messed up. The coolest thing that they do is play an action, build it down, and then play high spirit awareness to pick it back up.
Yep.
Yeah, the deck seems extremely cool, and it's on my list for sure. I'm considering it as an option.
Yeah, I'm trying to also put together like a feasible list for him just to play at locals, just so I can play the character because I'm like, man, I want to play this guy. Shout out to JJ, your character's cool. I guess you're pretty cool too.
He's super cool.
He is very cool. I'm sorry, don't kill me. But yeah, I'm glad that both you and Zeke had a good time at this LC, especially considering this was Zeke's major competitive Universus event, first Universus event, like a lot of firsts for our buddy Zeke. And I'm just really glad that he had a good time. And James said, do better next time.
No.
Okay, okay.
Dang, dude. He really hit you with a nah.
Nah. Just play Batra and freaking win Chicago. Do me a solid. Play Batra, win Chicago.
I'll think about it.
You're going to say something, Zeke. But speaking of Chicago, like we mentioned before, Zeke and James are going to be at Chicago this upcoming weekend by the time this episode comes out.
Yep. Steph and Brian, I think, are also going to be there.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to miss out on this one, which kind of a bummer because I wanted to go to Chicago. I've never been. I've heard mixed things with Chicago. Of like, it's great, it's not great. Like I said, I've heard both sides of the camp about Chicago, but gonna have to miss it this time. But I do hope that you guys enjoy Chicago. And that goes for all of you listening as well. If you guys are at Chicago right now listening to this, I hope you're enjoying yourselves. But that's going to be it for today's episode. Thank you guys again for watching the episode on YouTube or listening on Spotify. I greatly appreciate it. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. And let us know what you think about Cha Hae-In, Titan of Terror, or what your LC experience was if you went to this one. Also, if you're on Spotify, be sure to rate the podcast. It really helps us out, gets the podcast out there for others to see it. It would mean a lot. And with all of that said, I'm Andrew. I'm rambling.
I'm Jake. I'm redacted.
You sure are. Zeke.
Oh, and I'm Zeke. I'm gonna go find a place in the woods.
And I'm James. I'm just the other guy.